Welcome to Inside the Upside Down. Tonight we're talking about demons. Are you haunted by a demon? Welcome to Inside the Upside Down. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. With me, of course, is my lovely partner in crime, Shana, our chat Shananigator from Edge of the Rabbit Hole. So we have a very interesting topic that we're going to be discussing tonight, and we've brushed on it a couple times before, most usually in the way that Hollywood portrays demons. We've had James Anito, demonologist, on here before. We've had Keith Johnson on here before, not really specifically about demons. We are working on getting his brother Carl out here, and I've worked with Carl before, but it's a very, very popular topic within the paranormal community. Of course, mainstream pop culture really loves demons, and that's the way that the television shows have really gone. But what I want to do is kind of get down to are the different manifestations, are the different hauntings that are happening at a particular location or home or what have you, are they really truly demonic? Because I've had cases before where somebody's gotten in touch with me, hey, and this is why I always mention this, hey, a candle went flying off my mantle. Do I have a demon? That's what you're asked.
And the answer to that is because I'm never 100% sure about everything. So we'll just say 99% sure that maybe a human spirit picked it up and lobbed it at you.
That's always possible. It's not enough information to go off of,
right,
for one. But unfortunately, because of the way pop culture has really played into the paranormal field these days, it's like any sort of, I heard 3 knocks on a door, something fell off the wall, something is rattling in the middle of the night, I'm hearing a deep growl, or whatever, that their brain instantly goes to demonic. And I know we mentioned it on the show here before, one of our other demon episodes, that first thing coming to mind, that the Conjuring, where Roger's like, I hear 3 knocks, and Ed is like, well, 3 knocks, it could mean it's demonic. But we mentioned here, hey, when I knock on somebody's front door, I
usually do it 4 times just because I don't like uneven numbers, but I'm OCD like that, so yeah.
Right. So I thought what we would do to kind of just start things off, get the conversation rolling a little bit here, is, like I said, I've worked with Carl Johnson before. We're pretty friendly. I have his Shadow Realms book here, and I thought I would just, it gets really detailed, but I thought I would just read, it's toward the beginning, just kind of like a short, quick overview of demonic infestation. Just to give you kind of his perspective. Like I said, this is kind of the overview part, and then it gets really deep into there. So this is from Carl Johnson, world-renowned demonologist. Like I said, I've worked with him before. I know he's reputable. So when someone rather suddenly and inexplicably becomes antisocial, withdrawn, and preoccupied with dark and negative interests, or abandons many previous interests, they could be exhibiting symptoms of demonic oppression, which can also be referred to as demonic infestation. This may be co-symptomatic of clinical depression, and distinguishing one from the other is difficult, especially in the early stages. A decided avoidance of sunlight, bright lighting, normal social interaction, a noted aversion to religious objects such as the Holy Bible, and especially negative and irrational reactions to discourse on spiritual matters are indications, not proof, that something demonic has come into play. Demon possession is when the invading entity has overtaken, subverted the victim's personality, and that person seems to have lost control of their own volition, speech, and actions, at least for protracted periods of time. Someone suffering demonic possession will, during episodes, behave as a very different character, or even several new and destructive personalities will emerge. Various and often quite alarming manifestations of paranormal activity will accompany and further reveal demonic possession. You know, and he goes on with a number of different things. So that's just kind of like a quick, brief overview. And like I said, you know, I'm not sponsored by Carl, but Carl, I'm plugging your book if you ever happen to watch this. It's a really interesting read. Like I said, it gets pretty in depth, and he does briefly hit our case in here, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so if you just have a candle fall off the wall, or even if you just get scratched, it doesn't mean immediately it's a demon. You get demon on the Ovilus, it doesn't mean it's a demon. And we've actually mentioned that specifically here a couple times before. Specifically. And we just mentioned it in the last episode with Justin Brown.
So if there's anybody out there that hasn't quite grasped that concept, freaking grasp it now. I'm telling you, please. Please be a rebel and break away from network TV and just tell yourself it's not a demon just because this app told me that it is, or this box told me that it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that it takes time to really determine and figure out, okay, what exactly is going on here. Like the case that we had in Edmond, Oklahoma. Now, we never did call that a demon. Now, it was mean, nasty, nefarious, malicious, all those big nasty terms. Never called a demon, although, like I say, he does kind of mention it in that book a little bit because it was one of his rougher cases. In fact, we basically saw him hit the ground after everything was said and done because Carl was so exhausted. But it's not like, I hate that the show does this, but I get that they only have like 40 minutes to put a show together. They make it look like we went out there, had one investigation, and we're like, okay, boom, we're calling Carl. That's just not what happened. We'd gone out there 5-6 times. At least we were in constant contact with the family. They had things going on for 20 years, and the family just didn't talk to each other about it because they didn't want to be, kind of old school type of family. We don't want the other people in the family thinking we're nuts. So they didn't talk to each other. When they finally did, then they called us, and it was over several months. We went out there about 5 or 6 times, got a lot of different evidence. A number of different things were going on. It wasn't just the one entity that Taliesin was seeing. There was some other things going on that may have been related. But it was as these certain things kind of were put into place, we're gaining more data. We talked about data last week. We're getting that data. We put it together into some information, did the historical research on it, and found the suicides that were there, and it's like things are starting to fall into place here as to what the story is. Data, information, story. But it wasn't demonic. Even with all that stuff that was going on there, it wasn't demonic. So you've had the cafe stuff.
I've been scratched in there. I've also been scratched by toddlers who needed their nails clipped. So there were kids in the cafe. There's adults in the cafe. There's all kinds of energy in the cafe. And I'm just sitting there at the table with everybody, and all of a sudden my arm starts burning, and I jumped, and I looked down, and there's a scratch there. Everybody was standing there to know that I didn't scratch myself, and nobody scratched me. It was just all of a sudden, boom. And there wasn't 3 scratches. It was just a scratch. So, did I, oh my God, it's a demon? No. I just assumed that it was one of the kids or somebody trying to get my attention. And so I was like, hey, use your words. Don't scratch. That hurts. Find another way to get my attention. So I wasn't bothered again like that for the rest of the night. Not that way. Other stuff started happening, and words were being used. So, my first thought was not, oh my God, it's a demon. So don't always assume that's what it is, because the majority of the time it's probably not going to be.
We have a $5 super chat from Andrew Cox. He says, because of Hollywood, everything is labeled a demon. That's not usually the case. It could be an upset spirit, a lost spirit, or Shana's demon stomach. It could be Shana's demon stomach.
If I'm in the building and you hear growling, it is probably me.
Probably your stomach, especially after Mexican food.
Oh, God. Let's be real now. It's true. And if you happen to use a real-time audio, you'll probably want to run.
Yeah.
Because it is loud. I'm telling you.
It will be trying to eat you and your children all at once. So Dave Nunnally is in the house from Mineral Springs. So we are going to be broadcasting live from Mineral Springs next week for both Edge of the Rabbit Hole and Inside the Upside Down. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. So thank you, Dave, for making that possible. He offered that up last week during the show, and so we're making it happen. So I'm happy, really happy for that.
It's going to be fun.
So Dave says, Danna has been a medium for over 40 years and has only encountered one demonic presence, and it wasn't at Mineral Springs.
Bingo.
Yeah, Mineral Springs doesn't have a demon.
No, it does have some really strong energy there.
Oh,
and,
certainly.
You know, there's certain areas of the building that I'm just like, nope. The men's pool being one of them. Like, I have never stepped foot in that.
You have not gone in there.
No, I have never done it. Like, one time I got up on the ramp and I was like, nope. Now I can go in the other pool.
What is it you feel there? I'm curious.
I mean, it's not like I feel scared. It's just that I feel...
Is it oppressive?
I feel like I'm going to be very uncomfortable if I step down in there.
Okay.
And I'm going to want to get out. Kind of like it was the one night went up there just free with none of the usual stuff that I carry with me. And I was just like, shit, I need to go out and get my stuff. I put so much faith in that stuff to work for me. Whatever, the black tourmalines, all that stuff, whatever, how it resonates with me, how it works for me. I believe very strongly in it. So going in without anything at all sometimes is just like walking into a crowded party or a bar, and it's just like freaking loud, and you're like, what the hell? What's going on? No. And then there's stuff going on like around you that you don't want to look at. And it's kind of like that. So, but that's what I feel like is going to happen when I step down in there. So I'll step down in there. And then the area back there around
on the other side of the pool.
Side of the pool.
Yeah. No, really that's legit. That's legit that there's something going on back there. For certain. There's the back corner of actually in the pool area, where we've called him Mr. Fast and Grabby before.
And that's, that's something in itself, and
and I think that's different than what's on the other side of that wall.
Yeah, like it's hands-on Mr. Fast and Grabby with the vibrating hand, that's what I call him. He doesn't scare me. So when the lights are out, I could be over there, and I could even be over there by myself. It's not a scary energy. It's just...
it's strong, though.
It's just strong. Yeah,
it's strong.
It's just
and
really
he's violating your space, getting a little personal back there, I think.
Yeah.
So, but it's not demonic. It's not demonic.
No.
To
us, it's not.
Yeah, it's when the Catholic Church tries to go in there to determine, okay, we're going to do an exorcism. And I've mentioned it on a previous show, witnessing interviews with priests, especially more so over in Europe. So, Spanish priest from Spain. And he's like, it's probably like 1 out of every 1,000 cases that we're given that might be demonic. There may actually be an exorcism that we have to perform. It's like normally it's not. They just have, it's and that's where it becomes tough to determine. Is there something psychological going on with the person? That could very well be, or do they have some other type of haunting going on that may just be, some other human spirit? They may even be seeing, something that's residual, and because the person's just so frightened of anything paranormal, they're just like, oh my God, and it's not the case at all. Scotty Fox says demons are common along with the Dybbuk box on YouTube, but ...
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because that gets more views. If you got, demon videos on YouTube where you're, suddenly getting, possessed and all this other garbage, I mean, that's the big views. I mean, it's the same thing as with television. The big box, it's like, it's like as soon as Zach had one and was kind of flaunting that, everybody now had one. So yeah, it's kind of the way it goes. From Erica, what do you think about the Warrens' work? Okay, so a lot of people here that are watching know that I'm good personal friends with Andrea Perrin, so real life oldest daughter from the Conjuring case. We've had a number of conversations about it. I'm not going to try to put words in her mouth, but I mean, you could really just read her third volume of House of Darkness, House of Light, where she goes kind of deeper into the Warrens being there. And, pretty much, and this was my take on it, is that the Warrens meant well. They wanted to help, I know people, personally know Lorraine, that are like, she's a very sweet woman. I have no reason to doubt that whatsoever. So I think they genuinely tried to help, but I also think that they embellished a number of things. I think there's a certain degree of, hey, we're becoming popular over this, so we're going to embellish some things. I know that, like, when it comes to, the farmhouse there, Lorraine, made it out that, Bathsheba was the terror of the place, and Bathsheba actually never lived there. She was related to some people that did live there, and there was a controversial tragedy that happened in relation to Bathsheba, but so Lorraine had misinformation that was put out there about it, but it made for apparently a better story. But I do believe that they genuinely went in there to try to help, and like Andrea says, they stirred more things up. And I know that the story with, and I've talked about it here before, the story with that seance in the kitchen, and basically all this crap is going on in there. Carolyn got knocked back and all this other stuff, and just Roger knocked out Ed. Of course, you don't see that in The Conjuring. It's a very different story that's told. So yeah, I think they tried to be helpful, but they had another agenda along with it. So that's what I think of the Warrens. Yeah. It's you have to keep in mind that what is shown in the movies and on television, there's like only a sliver of the truth in there. In the Conjuring universe is its own fictional universe. I mean, the Nun was completely of all of them. Now that is the most fictional of the lot. We did a video here on the Haunted Road Media channel, the real story of Valak. Valak is not a demon nun. Valak is a demon. Valak, I'll say, is a character from demon lore. So it's like, if you go into the Goetic grimoires, and this is stuff like Aleister Crowley wrote, and he got it from older texts, and you can go back at least as far as the 1500s with this stuff. Aleister Crowley wrote the Lesser Seal, the Lesser Key of Solomon is what it was. And so it contained basically all this information about various different demons, essentially how to, ways in which to conjure them up and invoke them. Try to get, the idea was to get them to do your bidding, which, the way that works is, if you really try to do that, at first the demon is going, because they're liars and manipulators, they're going to try to seem that they're being very, very helpful, and then eventually manipulate you to destroy you. But he wrote about all this stuff in these books, and so you can find all that. Valak is one of those characters within this, if you want to call it a demonic mythology or what have you. Some of it reads like Dungeons and Dragons, Monster Manual stuff, or what have you. Valak is actually a boy, riding a two-headed dragon. Stuff about the Marquis of Snakes and all that. Yeah, that's in there. That's probably the one line that's true in there. Was considered a president of hell, which may or may not mean anything, because all of the different demons had different titles, like dukes and earls, and so it's like, where does president fit on the scale? I don't know. So you kind of have to take it all with a grain of salt. The first Conjuring movie, very, very little of that was true. It's like they had the names, right? The people's names, but in the name of the town, but most everything else was incorrect. I mentioned a little while ago, Keith, or Carl Johnson, his brother Keith. Those were the two that introduced the Warrens to the parents. They're not even in the movie at all. With The Conjuring 2, with the Enfield Poltergeist case, they probably had a few more accurate details as far as what happened, but the Warrens are barely involved in that case. And of course, they made it like the Warrens are completely involved. So this is a little bit more of real versus real, which we've done before, but you have to keep into context. What you're seeing on the movie screen is very, very different than what happens in real life. You don't see little Reagan's head spinning around every day when we're investigating the paranormal. It just have you ever seen that? No. Okay.
It would be really nice if the paranormal shows would keep what they do from the movie and entertainment world separate. I would love to see that. I'm probably going to die before that happens, but I would like to see that.
Yeah. You see, Judy Wilson makes a comment. There are so many mental disorders that I think a lot of the so-called possessions could be that. Well, and that's kind of that gray area between the medical profession and the paranormal. Some of the stuff with Annalise Michelle and all that, the real demon cases, a lot of times we would look for things like epilepsy. Well, she's not, passing, or I guess would be failing, whichever way you want to look at it. Basically, she didn't have epilepsy. And then she's doing things like talking in languages that she shouldn't have known. And I'm mixed on that case, because she's saying that she's possessed by Nero, possessed by Hitler, which you're like, come on. Really? Nero, Hitler, and like some other high-profile historic names. But then she's doing things like speaking in the correct Austrian dialect that Hitler would have spoken in. It doesn't even make sense. Weird stuff.
I don't think I know that one. Was that during the age of computers where you could check her search history?
No, she was... She was like 60s, 70s back then. So, yeah, that's really, really interesting stuff. So, yeah, I'm mixed on it. But... yeah, people wonder about the difference between schizophrenia and, possession, things like that. We had Mark Anthony on here talking about that difference before. So, but there are some key notes in there to consider between the two. Like with schizophrenia, it's an actual disorder of the brain that they can prove, you have it, where if you don't have schizophrenia and this stuff's still happening, well, okay, you might be possessed by a demon. But it's going to take more than just that. Like I was trying to kind of get to earlier, like when the Catholic Church goes through all this to deduce that, okay, do we need to do an exorcism here? They are looking into a lot of different things as to what's going on with this particular case. They're not going out there just one time. And that's why I kind of brought our, case into it. We went out there, multiple times, because you need to make sure. You can't just like see one and say, oh yeah, that person's clearly possessed, and then roll with it. So it takes a lot to get to that point. So see what you guys have going down in the chat here. And Danna saying, yeah, the church rules out everything else first. And, well, you do the best you can to try to rule out the other things. Sharon Lane, Roman Catholic Church, asked for a psych evaluation first. Yep, you have to go through all that stuff. And when we do things a little different with us now, because we don't have a case manager and all that when we do our different investigations.
I can tell you my line of questioning, though.
You have a specific line of questioning. You have a specific line of questioning.
It's very offensive sometimes.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I know.
But I'm sorry. I don't want my time wasted.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you if you have any mental instability at all, or if you're on any type of psych meds or any. Do you take street drugs? Anything with hallucinogenic, properties in it? Do you have a very active imagination, and can I see your search history on your computer? I'll ask, have you checked your home for super high EMF being given off? Because that can make you hallucinate. It really can. I'm not going to give the names, but there was a family that I had checked into. They ended up having near their son's bed where a lot of the stuff was going on. He had some devices giving off some extremely high EMF. They moved and it went away. They didn't have anything else going on, just in that one room, and just centered around him, and they took my advice and ran a recorder and did all this stuff, not coming up with anything. Having camera on him at all times. They did everything. And not one thing happened that I could have, labeled as paranormal. And then they even had, an electrician, come in the family. And he was like, you need to get this kid away from this room. This is can cause some problems. And, nothing like that's going on now. So, I am going to ask questions like that. And then a lot of the times people get kind of mad. I think it's because, I'm not going to say everybody, because there are some legitimate paranormal cases out there. There's a lot of them, really. But then there's others that just want to be on TV or be popular. The ones that you can usually are the ones that go higher up first. Calling the TV, hey, I need you to check and see what's going on. Before, if it were me and I had something going on, that would be the last place I would call unless I wanted to be on TV. I would be starting local first with people I could trust to find out, is there really something going on, or have I lost my mind? So if you want to be on TV, you'll be on TV. That's how you do it. But not everybody is like that, fortunately.
Yeah. So, Judy really likes your scarf, by the way.
My friend Rita made this.
Oh,
Rita made it.
So for those of you that don't know, because we haven't mentioned it here yet, but we were going to do another cafe show with Rita, and Rita passed away here just very recently.
Yeah.
So very sad. So Shana was dealing with some of that today. Yeah.
And she made this. It's a gorgeous scarf. She could have made just anything, and I'm talking anything, like candles and melts, and she baked, and she did stuff like this, and oils and perfume, and she was amazing, really.
Yeah. So
her and I were supposed to write a book together too this year, and so
we'll have to do a cafe show in honor of her and talk about that, and we could show some clips from the previous time that we had her on, which was a discombobulated nightmare, made us get away from Skype. But the cafe, you would say, did not have a demon.
No. There were a lot
Even
of
though you
spirits in
had
there.
bookcases being thrown at you.
Yeah. There was some angry energy in there. I can only speak for the activity that went on while I was in there and that I allowed, and then growing up over the years, I was in the building a lot, but I didn't really know what went on behind the scenes, so, I can't say everything that went on inside the building to help contribute, but, the documented deaths that happened there, the documented traumatic events, that happened there, It's, near the river. I mean, it's on, the entire area is, a lot of Native American energy. I mean, there's just a lot of contributing factors to make the place what it was. There was a lot of strong energy in there. And, at times it was kind of dark in there. And there were times where you would walk in and just be like, nope, not feeling it today, but I'm going to leave this recorder right here, and then be listening to it and then see all these like bookmarks and stuff. Meanwhile, there's nobody in the building. Like a select few people had keys. I was one of them. None of us went in there alone. After a lot of this stuff had started happening, no one went in there alone. And especially just all the spikes, you're like, oh God, that's a lot of stuff there on the audio. And it's like, there was all kinds of stuff going on in there. You think, and different voices, and then there'd be, the occasional rumbly sounding, if you want to call it a growl, fine. I mean,
and Judy Wilson is wondering if you ever felt the anger was directed at you.
I would not say directed at me like exclusively, but there were some times, I think the energy just didn't want to be disturbed. And, here we are. So, we would always be respectful about it, like in our defense, we just want to know who it is. That's all. We just, we know all the different people that are in here, who is so angry in here right now. Well, what are you angry about? Is it about us? Who's it about? And you don't get answers sometimes, and you stay until you get it, or until they throw you out. So, I mean, that happens, sometimes where you're just like, okay, we get it. We're not going to be in here. And then, you go in there the next day and everything's fine. So it all depends. I really sincerely think that place had some type of portal activity going on, because there was just
you've talked before about the ley lines that cross right there. So that would make sense, the portal activity, which would really amp up everything going on there. And if you had a nefarious spirit there, that would be a source for him to feed off of. A place like Mineral Springs, which is not demonic. You're talking, it's. I mean, there's a lot going on there. I mean, we had Dave in there on the McPike and Alton video talking about the wall, and it's like, there's no way to know if any of that wall is used within Mineral Springs, but and there's limestone in there. There's limestone in the walls of Mineral Springs. You have an open pit. There's stuff shoved in there, but it's still essentially an open pit down into that ground. So you have to think that is going to, things like that are going to really amp up the energy in there. And depending on the type of spirits you have in there, that it could be good, it could be bad, but it gives them a source to feed off of.
Who was it that stood in that on the show?
Oh, on Ghost Adventures? Yeah, that was really stupid.
Like,
I mean, because you don't know how well it's packed in there. That's just from a safety issue on a paranormal investigation. That was dumb.
He's either brave or stupid, or a mixture of the both of them. I'm just gonna go with stupid. But I mean, dumb. I mean, that would be.
I've never had one inkling to stand on that.
No,
you have no idea how well packed in it may or may not be.
That would be like going into that old poorhouse in Carrollton and looking at the floor that's obviously not stable and standing there and expecting to stay there upright without falling.
I would not have done that. No,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Yeah, be safe about it during your investigations for sure. But I just mentioned that about Mineral Springs because it is a, like the cafe, at a location where you're going to have that stronger type of energy. The cafe, again, right along the water. You got the limestone bluffs. You have the ley lines crossing there. You're going to get all of that extra energy for those spirits to be able to to manifest and do different things. And I think same thing with Mineral Springs, that you have all these different factors that are going to give those spirits that extra energy. So, somebody who's a bit more mean and nasty, and Dave's talked about William being down there, so that would give him more energy to be a little bit more on the mean side, where I think somebody like Molly, who we've experienced, I think that it's given her more energy to be able to connect with you. And so therefore, one of the last times that we were up there, you were just super feeling whatever this sadness was that she was relating to you, and then of course that time that basically it seemed like you got her name correct, and just like boom, all this energy. And I was kind of even pushing back at that time. Neither one of those demonic, but a strong energy, because I think that the building, the site that it's on, and all these different factors are feeding them more of that energy.
Yeah. I believe that. I love the downstairs too at Mineral Springs. Like everybody's like, oh my God, the downstairs. But I mean, it's very calm down there. I mean, it's a mix. It's weird because it's calm. It has a calming effect, but it's also it seems pretty active, pretty strong too. But it has like this swirling feel, like you can just feel like it's just kind of like going around you and stuff, like not crowding you in, but just like the walls themselves, it just feels like there's this, not enough to give you like vertigo or anything like that, but to me the energy is just really, it's just pretty chill down there.
And Dave Nunnally in the chat confirming the prison walls were still standing for the most part when Mineral Springs was built in 1914. So to keep that in mind of how much of the how much of the prison was actually still standing there, which from the conversations that Dave and I have had, and you can see some of that in our McPike and Alton video, because we do go into the wall that people don't really understand that good significant portions of that prison stayed standing there in dilapidated state for decades. So it's not as much as people tend to think. Some of it got carted over to Missouri and used there. So it's very different than what has kind of been the running story. So I think there's other factors. And maybe there might be a little bit of that, within there, of course, but
as he said,
and around the town, but not as much as everybody thinks.
As he said, it's not easy to prove it.
Right.
But
so I mean,
it'd be hard to dispute.
It's hard to prove, and it's hard to disprove it too. I mean, but all of that still doesn't equate something demonic. It's just that's just energy. That's a source of energy for things to feed from. Which, even prison aside, prison was built with limestone. Well, you still have all that limestone around the area anyway. So, very, very different. So, let's see. They have somebody down in there, HSFL Paranormal, saying they had a demonic attachment to their house, and to me was from an investigation at where we dubbed the murder house investigation. 3 to 8 people were murdered in the house. Interesting. Okay.
But how does that make a demon?
I don't know. So that's the question. That's the question. So how is it determined demonic? So.
That's the point of this. That's the point of this, after all.
And also keep in mind,
not meaning to be a bitch about it or anything.
Well, no. You have to ask the question. How is it all deduced? Because it is, just like with Amityville. You're talking about the Warrens earlier. Of course, the way a lot of, it's who knows what the real story is that happened there. We're never really going to know. So basically the Warrens go in there, they do their seance, which not really much happened during the seance, but they're still trying to sit there and even Ronnie Butch DeFeo is trying to, at one point said that there was some sort of demon that appeared to him and handed him the shotgun, and and so Lorraine's talking about some evil presence there and all this, and the one that always gets forgotten about is Hans Holzer. Now, Hans Holzer actually predated the Warrens. He was around before they were, and so they were basically contemporaries. They came along a little while after, and they became very popular. Hans Holzer goes in there, and from his investigations, and he would use a psychic medium a lot and what have you. He's like, yeah, there's activity going on here, but it's not all of that crap, and certainly not the stuff with the Lutzes, the demonic pig and all this crap. Certainly wasn't that. He's like, yeah, there's just a Native American spirit here that's just pissed off that the land got, abused, because there were apparently some burial grounds or something nearby that maybe nobody knew about it. We don't know. Maybe they knew about it and just, And so he was pissed off about that. He's like, yeah, so he's not happy, but there's nothing demonic going on here. There's no slime. There's no pigs. There's no.
There's people wanting to be famous, apparently.
Yeah. So again, that would be, and I'm wondering where the help would come into play on that, because I said with the Warrens before, they're trying to be helpful but embellished. I don't know if maybe they thought they were helping the Lutzes. So, but you go into that story, and I've mentioned it before on this channel. Shattered Hopes documentary series, really, really in depth on what would be considered like the true horror of that location, which was the DeFeo murders. And it goes really in depth on that. It does talk about the Lutzes and goes into all that too, but to get that backstory, and it's like you start finding there's like actual connections between the DeFeos and the Lutzes. It's like, whoa, okay. So it's interesting stuff.
Do we have an answer down there yet?
For I don't know. I'm seeing cleared my house 4 times, had a pastor come over, bless the house, and exorcise the house. Still have high areas of EMF where there's no electricity. Okay. So, okay, and this is directed at us. I was waking up with my pillow covered in blood from claws in my hands, scratches on my throat and wrists and chest. House smelled like rotten eggs or rotting flesh for days. Those are some different signals.
Yep. Absolutely.
Those are some different signals, yeah.
It would make for a good movie also. I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm just saying that's kind of the stuff you see in movies. Too.
It is, but...
It is, so I'm not saying that.
Well, no, but you have somebody coming over to bless the house and other people that are witnessing this, and so... but those are definitely indicators. When you start smelling the rotten flesh and things like that, those are one of those things. Okay, we'll check off that box. The stuff like in the middle of the night, and I don't know if this was ever the case, but oppression, not the possession part of it, oppression, 2 different things. And so like the oppression part of it, where it's kind of like one of those stages before possession where as they're trying to work on you to be able to work their way in you, and again, it's just really hard to tell the difference between, okay, is this something demonic or is it something else? Because there's like there's depression that can go into it, somebody totally being like very out of character. But one of the other oppressive things is actually in the middle of the night where, and I've actually had this happen a couple times, not saying it's demonic, but where you could actually feel something trying to get inside you. You could feel that pressure and something pushing, and it felt like something trying to get in. I didn't have any blood or anything. Like I said, I don't think it's demonic, and I don't know if maybe we get a little bit more of the story or something like that. But you know, waking up like that, you know, maybe something like that was going on in the middle of the night. Maybe they're, you know, fighting. You know, I don't know. Those are definitely some considerations. All right. And they're saying it was no joke. I swear the same smell was prevalent during the investigation at the motor house. And when we got into the car after the investigation, poltergeist activity too. Oh. Very interesting. And it was a murder house. And so, you know, it being a murder house, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean demonic or not, because some people will say, and I'm not saying your case specifically, but there are people that would be like, well, you know, there was a murder here and there's paranormal activity going on, so therefore it must be a demon. That's not necessarily the case. You know, the Edmond house that I refer to a lot, there were the recurring suicides in the house, or at least attempted suicide. So there's one confirmed that we know for sure that happened there. There was another attempted that we know for sure that's confirmed. There was a third one that was basically a story from a local retired police officer. And he swears that it happened in that house, where it was an accidental suicide. The two of them would have happened in her room. The third one, I don't know where the attempted suicide, I'm not sure where it would have happened, because they were in the middle of, the husband and wife were in the middle of arguing, and he tried to off himself. So it became a question during our investigation of that, while we're trying to figure out what the heck is going on there. You know, is this, because you're trying to narrow down what type of entity is this? You know, is this the original? It would have been the father of the homeowner. The father of the homeowner was living with them, the original homeowners, and he's the one that committed suicide. So is it him, and he's projecting his feelings of despair onto other people that are there? You know, or the other idea that we had was maybe it's something that was there before the house was built. You know, something that was already connected to the ground there, connected to the land, that maybe it was doing things, you know, maybe giving that feeling of oppression, something like that. Again, doesn't necessarily have to be demonic, but affected the father of the homeowner, and then subsequently other people as it went along. We did deduce it was not the father of the homeowner. So Carl and I are cult specialists at the time. This is really interesting. We're working on getting Carl on here because I want to talk to him about this. They called it a wraith, which is a human spirit that has become more malevolent as an entity, as a supernatural entity in death. So I want to ask Carl a little bit more about that, where the definite, because he and Chris deduced that one. Again, they didn't call it a demon, so you can see how how far you can actually go before calling it something like that. So see if there's any more follow-up to that. So Mama Joe, Buffalo Woman, Joni saying she's supposed to go to sleep but can't now. She's got to watch Haunted Road Media. Awesome. We love that. So HSFL saying every one of our investigators were attacked at that location. Not one of us didn't get scratched or pulled, and we witnessed a possession at the house.
Is it still going on?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is it still going on?
Is it still going on, and where is it? Because I would really like to
go. Yeah, it'd be very, very interesting to check out.
I want to go just because nothing like that ever happened. I won't say never, ever happens to me. But I would like to go.
Yeah, I would definitely like to check out.
I want to go just because nothing like that ever happened. I won't say never, ever happens to me. But I would like to go. I won't say never, ever happens to me. But I would like to go just because nothing like that ever happened. I won't say never, ever happens to me. I got furniture thrown at me.
You've got furniture thrown at you. You've been scratched. You've been pushed and pulled.
Yeah.
So you've had stuff happen.
But humans can do that to you. So all I'm saying is, if someone's saying that kind of stuff is going on, I want to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So then I can make an educated opinion.
Belliquez makes a good point. It could be Keys or Kies, depending on the. But please clarify, shouldn't you choose an experienced paranormal team to help you? I believe choosing an inexperienced team can hurt the situation than help. Yeah, because an inexperienced team could basically get things riled up even more. Especially with something like that. They could go in there, get something riled up. They don't know how to get it to stop, and they walk out, and it's worse for the homeowner. So yeah, you definitely would want to go with an experienced team. I would say that you would want to, and you said a pastor came in there. I don't know how experienced this pastor is with the paranormal and this type of activity. You would certainly want to try to get somebody in there who has dealt with this many times, has seen this type of activity often. So somebody. I mean, Carl's getting a lot of plugs tonight. Somebody like Carl. James Anito, who we've had on here before, would be a good one. Bishop Long. So there's a lot of different people in the field, very involved, that have had a lot of experience dealing with these types of things that could really get to the bottom of the matter without making it worse. So yeah, if you have a team going in there left and right, I start to wonder about the team. And could very well be that bad. But that's a number of different things kind of on the list. Like, okay, but I would want to get an opinion from somebody like that, from somebody like Carl or James or somebody who's fought in that arena many times. So it's an interesting case. I'm intrigued. So, what is this? Mike, you're turning out to be the next Holster? Oh, Holzer. Hans. Okay. Okay. I don't know about that. He had like 140 books. I'm at 10.
You better get moving.
I better get moving. Alex would have something to say about that. Alexandra's daughter. She's the next Holzer.
Yeah.
She's cool. Bree Jones, I wonder if what Coyote Chris would think of that place. Yeah, I mean, Chris doing some drum work in there. I mean, to put a different energy, a different vibration in there. I mean, that would be interesting, because that would totally give a different vibration in there.
To see how it responds.
Yeah.
If it quiets it down, it could be like, hey, this guy's speaking my language. It could be some kind of energy like that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a team that's going in there and just being like, I don't know what this team did while they were in there, but if they're just going in there, and we've seen it on TV before, are you evil? I know.
Are you evil?
Yeah,
man, I'm totally evil.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going
to say they're evil.
It doesn't happen. So don't embarrass yourself by asking that question.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that would be another thing to consider is the team and how they went in there, how they went about investigating. If they're just doing things like that. I mean, sure, as an investigative team, you need to figure out what's going on. That wouldn't be the line of questioning I would use.
No.
But what are they doing in addition to trying to change that vibration? Because you can walk into a place, and I never claimed to be a psychic. I have some sensitivities, and you can walk into a place and just be like, okay, something's up. Something's up at this place. And I might not know exactly what it is. Shana might know exactly what it is. I'm just going to know something's up. So we need to be serious about this and start, doing some work, whatever. Bust out the sage or whatever. But something like Coyote Chris going in there and changing that energy, changing that vibration with his drums, that might help.
Yeah, if he says, nope, let's not, then I'm probably going to believe him because, he seems like a pretty chill, in tune with the universe, with the earth, earth energy, Native American energy. I would believe him if he says, let's not go in here. It's not a good time, I'm probably going to believe him.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with Chris. Danna Gordon, I'd love to investigate with Chris as we both have a shamanistic foundation, but also me being a witch and with gifts would be interesting. Bree following up, I would also love to investigate with Chris. Yeah, Chris is a cool guy to investigate with. I like Chris.
And this year, I don't know if he's watching or not, but I never got to go downstairs and do the drum.
Yeah, because of where we started, he was there. I think he did two of the rounds, and then he had to go, and so we didn't get down there with him.
This time, I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah,
I want to.
So Sharon Lane says Hans was great. Mike is more open-minded, in my opinion. Mike and Shana have an awesome future. Yeah, I mean it was a different era, and I mean. Hans had his set way of doing things. He did. But I also believe he was honest. I believe he was a pretty straight shooter, and maybe I'm a bit biased because, his work was some of the first that I read when I was young. I got a couple of his books in there. I've known Alexandra for I don't know, probably 10 years now. Not like we're bosom buddies or anything, but we're familiar with each other and we've had some conversations. So, and yeah, so I'm sure I'm probably a little biased, but I always thought his work was pretty honest, and just the Amityville thing really sells it for me because that being such a sensational case at that time, you have the Lutz doing their stuff. And all the craziness going on there. You have the Warrens coming in. That's extremely, high profile, and it's all glitzy and glamoury there to, whatever degree you want to call it. And Holzer could have ridden those coattails too. And yeah, Amityville 2, the possession was based off of his work, but still, he was more like, yeah, there's something going on here, but it's not all that. So he didn't go down that kind of a road. He was more, to me, more down to earth and honest about what was happening there.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Sharon Lane agreed Hans was honest. Respect. Yeah. Lonzo Tingle, are you evil? Are you a demon? Chaps my ass. Yeah.
Chaps my ass too.
It does. It does.
It's right up there with asking someone if they know they're dead.
That too. I've been there for that. A couple times by the same person.
Yeah.
So I guess with that this could be the moment that we just real quick, we'll slam the Ovilus real quick.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So we have honest. We've mentioned it here on the other. We've done a couple of different demon themed shows. And we actually specifically mentioned the Ovilus before, reporting demon. Now, I've broken down my opinion of the Ovilus on here before, where I didn't believe it worked because I don't know how in the world a spirit is actually going to be able to go into the microchip on there and manipulate whatever to pull out words, and then basically the toggle between the different modes, generating that little EMF to create a random word. I've hammered that on here before. And basically saying also that, if it comes back saying demon on there, a demon is not going to say, hi, I'm a demon. You will never, a demon will never come back on there and say demon. It's not happening because they're trying to, they're lying. They're trying to lie to you. They're trying to deceive you. They're trying to manipulate you to get control of you. So, by declaring I'm a demon, no, that's not going to happen. Our show prior to this, Edge of the Rabbit Hole, with Justin Brown, he went even deeper on the Ovilus in and hammered that. So
We need more guests like that.
yeah.
We need more people like that.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
in general.
he basically told us the reason, because I told him after I saw that happening, I just basically put the Ovilus down and said, I'm done with that. But he actually knew why that happened. He's like, yeah, that's, and I forget the part that he called it inside. He was like, yeah, I was basically tripping that. And that's why it was, generating those random words.
It's a pre-programmed device where if you say this certain block of words, it triggers that particular word.
Right.
And if the makers of those devices were really smart, they'd have that word triggered often because demons are so popular. And if demons are popular, and especially because of TV, then people are going to be buying the devices that are being shown on these TV shows. So, I mean, it's all about money.
And then the
Very
other
much.
one that he was on board with us about was the Ghost Box. I mean, he's
Dun, dun, dun.
dun dun dun.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that it's radio.
Yes. Last night,
There you go.
Dave,
There you go.
I finally watched
This was my
the
lead-in. Here
Mineral
you go.
Springs episode. I did. And there's this part in
It's
there
at the very end.
at the end where it picks up this female voice saying, I'm, coming home. Well, I was like, man, why does that sound so familiar to me? And that's definitely,
You could tell it was music.
it was music.
You could tell it was music,
So
which I can't believe
I
they
looked it
included
up on YouTube and found it in like less than a minute. The same song, same female voice saying the same thing. And she says it often in that song. So what I'm guessing is they probably didn't anticipate.
You remember who it was? So they can go look it up?
Shoot.
I mean, you told me last night. I didn't recognize her name.
Yeah.
But it came up like immediately for you. You can't play the music on here.
No,
because,
I can't, but I am
Yeah.
going to look up.
All right, so she'll look that up. But yeah, we knew it was music. I had people message, of course, because it was Ghost Adventures, people messaging me. I've been getting messages about Ghost Adventures for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, there were just people that were messaging. Yeah, that last one, I mean, that was music. It's like,
Yeah,
it's so
kinda was.
blatantly off the radio. And we talk about that all the time, that it's just the ghost boxes are radio chatter. And like Justin was saying, it's like, no, if you eliminate that stuff and just make it white noise, I'm like, we ever heard that before? Oh yeah, when we had our ghost box episode. Just the
Yeah.
white noise would be fine. So
It's by Skylar Gray,
Skylar Gray, there you go.
Coming Home. That's a very sweet song. And I mean, I thought that I had heard it before. It sounded familiar to me.
I didn't know it at all. I just knew it was you could hear it.
Yeah, well, I remember because on one of my stations that I used to listen to at night, it had like softer kind of stuff on it to try to promote sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered
You
that
remember
song.
hearing it.
So
Okay.
I was like, okay, well, I was like, oh my God. And I can't believe, and I know that they didn't bank on anybody, A, noticing it, or be caring enough to look it up to call them out on it. And even if you do call them out on it, what do they care? They're fucking Ghost Adventures.
I don't know if they thought that
Why do they
because
care?
again, watch that. If you weren't here for the first show, Edge of the Rabbit Hole, go back and watch that with Justin, because he basically broke down how those different portal type devices are constructed, which I thought was great. He's basically talking about you're taking the the pedals that you use for your guitar that have all the different effects, and you're putting a delay on it, so it basically wipes out the white noise, and then you get that kind of wongy effect or whatever you want to call it off those, and that's why they end up setting them so they make the creepy cool sounds. But if the effect that they had on that particular device wasn't enough to drown out the fact that it was music.
Nope.
I mean, yeah, all the white noise would drown out, and they're like, yeah, it was like 30 some odd minutes later that we got this. And it's like, well, finally your device actually picked up a bit of radio chatter. Yeah,
I know.
But it wasn't demonic for sure.
No, it really wasn't.
It was electronic.
And I made the comments like, I don't believe what radio stations tell me.
Yeah.
I believe my gut. I believe what my gut tells me. And
Your body is your best tool.
Yes. And I get it too. I mean, those guys, you know, unfortunately, they're very popular. Fortunately, it brought a lot of traffic and awareness to the venue. And I understand that. I get it. I totally get it. And I'm glad. I'm glad that the awareness is there. I just wish that the people that are now going to become aware of the building that were before don't follow, you know, the same methods and expect to have anything positive come out of it. You know, one of these times there's going to be someone pulling some bullshit that Ghost Adventures has done, and somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah,
Because those guys are
if you guys
just
go
ridiculous.
to the very lowest level there at Mineral Springs, do not go and stand on the spring.
No, and don't yell at anybody.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest, I was mad. I was sincerely angry. I looked up, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with him? What's he yelling at them for? And I'm gonna go back in there on every single floor and apologize. I am so sorry for that idiot that did this, that said this, that pulled this crap with you, because I have 100% respect for every spirit in that building and the building itself.
Well,
and the
definitely.
people who graciously allow us to go in there. I have total respect for all of that, and I just wish that.
Well, we'll be in there next week
Yes.
at this time. So Judy Wilson, talking about the Ovilus, don't you program them with words to use? Yeah, so there's pre-programmed words in there, and it's supposed to pull those out. And so yes, demon is one of those words that's pre-programmed in there.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you have a white noise box,
that's different.
Just white noise, and you pick up on your recorder the word demon,
That's
I
a little
might
different.
listen to that. That's different.
But even in that case, I wouldn't think it was the demon saying, I'm a demon. I would think it would be more of something like there's another spirit there that's seeing there's a demon coming and warning you, oh, demon, get the
hell out of here. Yeah. You know.
You're like, shit. You know, and maybe that was another EVP in there too. Demon. Yeah.
Demon.
I mean, yeah, I would think it would be more of like that than it's the actual demon itself saying, yeah. In any case, we have a $10 super chat here from Tom McNicholas. Says Pearl should have kicked Zach's ass.
You know what? I sincerely, if they were picking up on anything bad at all that was legitimate, I'm inclined to believe that it was the spirit's displeasure at them being there and acting like assholes. So that's what I think. I mean, if I were a spirit and someone was treating me like that, I'd either A, not say anything at all, or B, I'm not going to say what I would do.
Yeah.
That would be terrible, but I definitely wouldn't be nice.
So we're going to let HSFL finish up their story here. So I'll read the question here, and then there was a final statement, I guess, on it. But have you ever heard of a demonic spirit taking form of a child while trying to communicate during an investigation? That's how I believe I got my attachment. I know there's a little piece before that, wasn't there? Yeah, the reason I think I had something attach itself to me from the murder house investigation, aka the demonic spirit, was from talking to what I thought was a child named Carlos. And so that's why they asked a question about taking the form of a child. And then, well, whatever that spirit was causing me not to sleep for almost a month. My electronics were turning on by themselves. Stuff was being moved by itself in that awful smell. So, I mean, yeah, again, a number of different check marks here. I'd still love to get somebody like Carl or James in there to really check it out if it's still going on. You said for a month, so I don't know if it's actually still going on. So, not really a demon taking form of a child. Can they pass themselves off as a child? And so that's part of the manipulation game. And so we do have a lot of people try to say, well, you know, you think you're talking to a ghost, you know, but it's really a demon.
What happens if you can find physical documentation of that person?
Right.
I'm gonna believe that, but
you know, and I've had, you said you had a pastor in there, and I've had a pastor tell me before about how they had somebody sitting in their office before, and they're basically the demon was and this is really weird. So they were trying to say that, or portray that they were a spirit from Ireland. And so he just started having a casual conversation with this. Now here's like a normal person, American, sitting there, and this demon or whatever was in there was trying to say that they were from Ireland. And so he's just having a casual conversation back and forth with them. So, you know, he knew a few things about Ireland and history and all that. And so he's, you know, just kind of questioning, oh yeah, about this and that, and, you know, the troubles and da-da-da. He started getting facts wrong that he should have known. So,
demon didn't go to school.
And Damon didn't go to school. So then he changed tactics, and I can't remember the whole story, but he like started speaking in Latin or something, and just it was a really interesting story. So he was like changing personas, which is one of the things that could possibly be. So, you know, in the whole while, it's just this guy that's sitting there, and it's like this stuff keeps changing in him. So it's really kind of a bizarre case. But could they portray themselves as a child? Yes, a demon could portray itself as a child, so that you know, you interact with it.
Then how do you know? I've interacted with many a child.
I know. And so, and I know, like, you have your whole history with Byron. So there is a degree of risk that you take with this. You know, when you go out and you're going out on an investigation and you're trying to interact with these spirits, you are risking the fact that you may actually invite something in that's not nice.
I haven't had that happen yet.
I know,
and
but you risk that, and people get attachments, and they bring things home that are not good.
I mean, I feel like so far, you know, like if my gut says, nope, you know, and then I follow it. You know, if I don't get that little voice, even just the tiniest little, no, don't go there, then I go. You know, nothing bad has happened to me, really.
And that's great.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like...
I guess, you know, I guess when you left, you know, was there any sort of cleansing that you did when you left? Was there anything like a no, don't follow me? I had a great time interacting with you and chatting with you, but you need to stay here. You cannot come with me. You know, anything like that. 'Cause we've had that happen where we've had something suddenly tag along with us, and we're like, nope, you get out.
It's like, no, you can't follow.
Yeah.
You know, with Byron, I didn't do that. I didn't care if he followed me or not. You know?
Okay.
But then there were other times when I'd be like, you know, please, nobody, you know, Byron always did. He just always did.
Yeah.
But he was the sweetest little boy. I mean, I would like to think that if something was posing as a little boy, at what point do they stop? You know, how long do they let it go on? And if it's really a demon, wouldn't they be able to follow me?
Wouldn't they be able to follow you anyway?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like I left and he didn't follow me. I mean, I have not seen him since I left. Since the last time I was in that building.
But here's my take on it. I think that demon or not, it could choose to follow you. Like, I like that person, I'm gonna follow them. I mean, like Kat Gash has a story of, she was just walking by a place, a historic location, and she picked something up and brought it home. She's just walking by, she's not even like interacting with anything there, and it liked her and it followed her, and she went home and the cats were going crazy for days. You know, finally figured out what was going on. So yeah, I think pretty much anything, demonic or not, could just suddenly be, I like that person, I'm gonna follow them. You know, so, but I think that when we kind of put our foot down when we're exiting, that we exude in energy, whatever vibration it is that we put out. That says that boom puts up that wall. You're not coming. You're not coming.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like that's probably
and
why
I think
nothing,
that's a protection.
You know.
And you have your stones that offer, and you believe in those stones and the power of those stones.
I believe in the power of myself also.
Yes.
And I feel like no matter how big and bad you think you are, you know, whatever demonic whatever, I feel like, you know, unless they're just wanting to be an asshole, that, you know, they can sense your energy too and probably deem it a waste of their time. Be like, yep, ain't cracking that nut. Let's move on to another one, you know? And I feel like, you know, and that's the mentality that I have a lot. Unless I want to be open, I'm just not. You know, there are other times I wish I could flick, you know, switches and, you know, have more answers than I do. And then there's sometimes like, no, I'm really fine just knowing what I know, you know? So I'll just, you know, there's other times it's like, whoo, too open, flick. You know, it's like, okay, that's a little better.
Danna says, and I guess we missed it somewhere in there because we end up seeing so much of the chat. HSFL said it's quieter now due to bringing the priest in. So, okay. That's good. So, I missed something. There was something that was piggybacking on something Bree said. Where was it, Bree? I missed it. Maybe it's there. Oh, yeah. She agrees. If they want to follow you, they will. Yeah. A couple other questions here, and then we'll wrap it up. This one's gone a little long, of course. You know, it's that kind of a popular topic. I'll go with Betty's first. What do you think of the flashlight turning off or on by a ghost? So, yeah, I've known people to use that method. My buddy Copperhead likes to use that one. You know, it's kind of like what Justin was talking about earlier. You know, it's hard to put in that control with something like that because you know that it's just like a hair away from touching and making that connection.
Turn it off. If they can turn it on when it's completely off, not just almost on, almost off. If it's off.
If it's off and you flip the thing on.
And they have to flick a switch.
Yeah, or completely unscrew the whole thing so it comes off. Right. I mean, I have seen the thing light up before when, you know, you asked a question and, you know, boom, it turned on. In fact, there was an interesting interaction there with Copperhead, with Kristen at the Bel Air house. We got that, I know, but we got that.
I was just stretching.
Okay. Well, because I know how you feel about the light and everything, but it was interesting where we got that EVP that, you know, we were saying, hey, you know, we'd like to get to know you a little bit. Maybe we could even become friends. Clear as a bell. The girl saying, I guess, and I forget the way the whole thing went down, but like Kristen was asking at the same time if you know, if you'd like to do that, could you turn on the light? And the light went on too. So we got that EVP and the light turned on at the same time. It's like, okay, that one's interesting. That one was interesting. But then there's other times where it's like, lights going on, lights going off. You know, you're asking, hey, can you do something with the light? And you're sitting there and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. And then all of a sudden, oh, yeah, it's starting to come on a little bit. Oh, you know, it's interactive. It's like,
no, it's not.
I don't quite buy that one. But the other times where, like that one particular time, it was like, maybe in that one. But it's, yeah, the flashlights are just, there's too many ifs with there. So I don't use them. I don't use them just because of that. So, and then Sharon Lane, do you believe spirits should be removed if they aren't hurting anyone?
I don't think that's our place to do that.
No.
They're there for a reason. I don't believe we personally have the authority to remove a spirit from a place that it's at. It might be there because it has unfinished business there. It could be there because it's watching over somebody in its time, or maybe someone that they know visits, you know? I mean, it's like people coming in and being like, poof, 40 spirits gone.
Yeah.
Where'd they go?
We've known those people. Yeah.
And why did you do it?
We
Who
removed
gave
40
you the
spirits from this location. It's like, I didn't even, where'd you get 40 from? How do you know there were 40?
I Personally, I think that's a crock of shit. But those people are still nice. So I just think, I don't know what I think. No, I don't think you should remove a spirit from somewhere. I think they're there for a reason. Some of them are there for a reason, and I think that some of them may not. Yeah, I think some of them may not know that they're there. But why confuse them further by? And then plus, who has the authority? I know I don't. To be like, I'm just going to put you here. Why the hell would I do that? And where'd they go?
Well, like,
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Like my grandfather. I talk about my grandfather a lot here because I think it's a great example of somebody that after he passed away waited around for my grandmother. And sure enough, when she passed away, other than one time a little visitation to me, haven't seen hide nor hair of him. But what if my grandfather's passed through someplace? Because he would go around, he would visit us from time to time. He spent a lot of time with my grandmother, but then would visit me, my aunt, whomever. But what if in passing, maybe he's passing through someplace and there's, I don't know, somebody who's like, I mean, I don't know if it's a medium or whoever, or maybe an investigator or whatever, that's like, oh shit, there's a spirit passing through and it does whatever, I'm going to imagine, off into the light and, pass them over. And all of a sudden, as my grandfather's passing through, away he goes.
That's kind of
and
rude.
now he's not able to visit any of us because he's wherever he's at. He's not able to, when my grandmother passes away, for him to accompany her to wherever they went to.
Yeah, if
and all he was doing was innocently walking by.
Right. If someone is not causing you bodily harm,
maybe he's visiting the museum, checking out some works of art, or he was more of a stamp guy. Maybe he's checking out some stamps or whatever, and they're in there. Yeah, they're in there doing an investigation. Like, okay, we're gonna pass over the spirits now. And
I mean, if you walk up into a place that doesn't belong to you and you do something like that, that is just ridiculous. Don't do that.
Donna Gordon, I hate those who profess to cross someone over. How do they know where they're going to?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Here's another
I've been there for that stuff, and I'm just like, I'm not getting it.
I think sometimes, I have coexisted with spirits. There have been some where I'm like, you have got to vacate my premises right now. You can tell when someone is passing through and when someone is there before you get there. I've told some of them to get lost. Be like, look, this isn't working out. You got to go.
Yeah.
You don't live here. I live here. You weren't here before I got here. You need to go. I think you can put your foot down in cases like that. If there's some vagrant passing through, some rogue spirit coming by, like, I think I'll be here for a while. No.
And
especially
not demonic.
Right.
That's a topic,
I mean, yeah. I mean, this one was in my shower. So, I mean, that I have a problem with. And, messing with my kitchen appliances when I'm trying to use them, and then spiking up my electric bill by leaving my lights on when I turn them off. I mean, there's just all kinds of things. But the being behind me when I get out of the shower, no, that can't happen. So, that one was told to vacate the premises very loudly and with much profanity. And place felt a little different like that afterwards. Did I cross him over? No. I don't.
Just told him to get out.
I don't have the authority or the power to do that. I don't have that ability, and I don't want it. But I wasn't about to call anybody that I thought might have that ability to do it. I just told it to get the hell out. Him, her, it was a him. I told him to get the hell out.
Yeah, you have a lot of people jumping on this down there. So Judy Wilson, never thought of it that way. Shauna, I always thought you had to send them to the light. Betty says, into the light, no way. Bree Jones, supposedly they go to the light, but if they're a different religion, that is a crock of BS. Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of the, you can't, there's none of this you can prove. This is all theory. It's people's theories of, we're going to send somebody, over into the light.
I mean,
and that's based off of near-death experiences where people
Right.
are like, well, I saw a light when I almost died. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say, because I've asked, okay, what in the world are you doing? You're saying you're crossing somebody over. What are you doing? Well, opening a portal of light for them to walk into. How are you opening a portal of light? And basically they are, in their mind, imagining a light source up there, and they are, in their belief, they are pushing energy from them into this light that they are imagining. So apparently the spirits, this is my understanding of what I was told, the spirits are supposed to be able to see this light this person is projecting up into there, and they're supposed to go off into it, into somewhere.
I don't think that's how it works. I mean, I'm not 100% certain about everything.
I don't know, but sometimes
sure.
people are able to do this 40 people at a time.
I bet those same people have voices in their
There were
life.
there's 60 spirits.
But...
There's 60 spirits in there, and we were able to cross over 40 of them by imagining them into the light.
I'm sorry. I just
reach deep into your hearts and your pocketbooks and take his hand.
At the same time, I hate to judge.
I got some snake oil that you might want to buy.
Yeah, I do. I hate to judge people like that. I hate to say stuff like that, but I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've heard that before, and you're right. I don't want to demean anyone because it is different people's beliefs, and there's no, like Dave with the wall, at Mineral Springs and the stones and all that. There's no way to prove it, and there's no way to not prove it. So
yeah, I can't say 100% sure you are horribly wrong. Stop peddling that BS. But at the same time, I'm like, my opinion is I think you're horribly wrong and that you should possibly stop peddling the BS. Just stop. I mean, you don't know for sure. Nobody knows for sure.
Nobody knows for sure that's actually
I don't care who you are. I don't know either. But I'm pretty sure some of these methods are ridiculous. I feel it. Here's what I do know. There's paranormal activity in the world.
For sure.
Yeah, I do know that.
And it's not all demonic.
No, it's really
not
not.
all demonic.
I'm telling you, if I get really pissed off at somebody, you would swear you were in danger. If I'm really angry, but that doesn't make me a demon. People have thought they were going to die before pissing me off, but they're still alive, and I didn't set them on fire or sacrifice their firstborn or whatever, however that stuff works. Just because someone is mean and angry doesn't make them a demon. I could scratch Mike right now, but that doesn't make me a demon. Guess I better use 3 fingers there because that's how that works. But
sure, I always thought you were a demon.
My stomach is more demonic than anything.
Right.
And that's just because of the noises that it makes. But that doesn't mean it's actually a demon trying to get out, I'm just saying, don't believe everything that you hear, especially from television, but you have to take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. Not everybody is going to have the same experiences, so I had something happen to me. You weren't there to see it. So you could very easily say, well, I wasn't there to see it, so it didn't happen. Great.
Which is why we question stuff, and it's like the demonic story that was going on down in the chat. I'm not trying to demean the experience or anything like that, but we have to question it.
Yeah.
As good investigators, we have to take the story and we have to question it. Okay, is this what was really going on? What are additional details? And you have to ask those questions. So it's like, not meaning any offense, but when you start hearing stories like that, because we've heard things for years now, different stories, different people's experiences, and immediately drawing a conclusion, demon. And so it was like, no offense down there, that's just naturally the way we are, that when we hear those stories we start asking questions. But that is the prudent thing to do, is to start asking questions.
You have, as a true paranormal investigator of any type, you have to try to debunk it first.
Yep.
You have to try to find the facts first, and that either means research, or you have to be there to get the hands-on, the experience to see if the same thing happens, to you. If it's just, focused on, one person or a set of people or whatever, and it's not happening for anybody else, that still doesn't mean that you're wrong and that it didn't happen. maybe it just means whatever the energy is, it's just focused on you and doesn't want to hear what anybody else has to say. So,
which is one of the things that makes this field so difficult.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's where skeptics always try to get us is, well, this happened for this person, didn't happen for you, then how do you, and that's one of the things we do talk about is, with the paranormal and trying to scientifically prove it makes it extremely difficult because there's not a way to create a control object because it's random or it's seemingly random. It doesn't happen exactly the same every single time. There's no way to have a placebo.
And it doesn't happen on demand.
Yep. It doesn't happen on demand. You can't make it happen. Yeah, on demand.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does, but not all the time. It doesn't happen that way all the time.
Yeah. It's just, because like when you're setting up a scientific experiment, you're like, okay, we're going to give, like if it's a pill or whatever, we're going to give this person, this pill so that they are experiencing the effects that they should be having with it all the time. And then you see how their body reacts to it, okay? But you know for a fact that they are getting whatever is in that pill. And then you have the one that's the placebo, there's nothing in there. And you see how they react. Well, that would be, in our case, paranormal activity would be the pill that's active, and no paranormal activity would be the pill that's not active. But in either case, you can't make sure. No. You can't make sure. You're always having paranormal activity here and see how that manifests, and you can't make sure that no paranormal activity is going to happen over here. So yeah, that's what makes it so freaking difficult to try to prove. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap it up because it's actually getting chilly here in the studio.
I feel pretty good.
You're kind of bundled up here.
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
Nice scarf and everything going on.
Yeah.
So, Ichabod Cranium here. Well, I've got to fix his hair again. I don't know. He's probably a little chillier. Of course, we got Ghosty down here. So, all right. We do appreciate everybody joining us this evening. It's always an interesting conversation talking about demons. It's so it's such a polarizing topic. But it's still interesting too. So I do appreciate everybody asking questions and sharing down there in the chat. We will be at Mineral Springs next week, so be sure to be out here for that. So we'll be broadcasting live from, I guess we're going to be up in Pearl's room.
Yes.
That's where we're going to do it. So that'll be very, very cool.
You never know. Might be able to get Pearl or Molly to come say hello.
That would be awesome. Yep. So let's go ahead and we'll get to the shout outs and everything here. Super Chat Superstars. We had Andrew Cox and Tom McNicholas. Thank you both very, very much again. Absolutely appreciate it. Super Chat Superstars. Appreciate it if I could speak. So Donna Gordon, thank you for Cheshire catting the chat. Always appreciate that. Dave Nunnally says, all for the greater good. Thanks for hanging out with us again tonight, Dave. And hey, if you are in the area or coming through the area through Alton, Illinois, definitely go to It's Raining's Inn, which is right there in the Mineral Springs Mall.
By the way, I'm running out of dandelion tea, so I hope
we're gonna pick some up.
I've been drinking that every single night.
I expect we're gonna be cleaning Dave out of some tea because I think there's like at least 3 or 4 of them that we're low on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, between It's Raining Zen, Indigo Moon, Mississippi Hippie, a lot of great stuff in there. So definitely check it out. It's right on Broadway. You can't miss it.
And you can bring your pets.
Yeah.
You can bring your pets. I think that's
awesome.
A wonderful thing.
Tammy Heisman asks, what night are you doing Mineral Springs live? Same bat time, same bat channel. So we will have both shows. Edge of the Rabbit Hole. Edge of the Rabbit Hole, we're going to be interviewing Dave. So it'll be a little bit of a different setup, of course, being there in Pearl's room. Shauna's going to be with me. We'll have Dave there. Vanessa will be there through Zoom. And so it'll be a little bit of a different setup. We'll try to fit everybody into the screen. I'm going to have to figure that out over the next week. And then after that, for Inside the Upside Down, Shana and I are going to do a little bit more on our experiences, some of the history. I'm sure we're going to go over history and stuff like that with Dave during our conversation with him, but we're going to go over some more of our experiences and whatnot there, and probably do a bit of an impromptu investigation.
Yeah.
So, this is what I have envisioned in my head, and I hope it works out like this. If we can figure out, because I'll bring the extenders, and maybe we can do our conversation with Dave from Pearl's room, but then and that'll be Edge of the Rabbit Hole, and then maybe if I can get the extenders to work up there, maybe we can extend to Molly's room for Inside the Upside Down.
Molly's my girl, man.
I know.
I've got to be honest. I want to find out who she is so bad that I just can't even stand it.
So I think that would be awesome. All right. So cool. So let's get to the shout outs like we had started. Okay. We got Bree Jones, of course, Haglin, Sharon Lane. Thank you all very, very much for hanging out with us, sticking this long. EQQ, thank you. There's Betty Lange. Thank you very much, as always, everyone. Judy Wilson. I think I said Judy earlier. There's Little Dorit Lisa. Thank you very much. Tammy Heitzman, thanks for joining us again. There's Andrew Cox. Tim Schoen, thank you as always. And Tom McNicholas, of course. Jen R. Rogue 7. Thank you for joining us tonight. Very cool to see everybody in here. Dave says, just don't walk into the damn well in the basement. Yeah.
No, it's not gonna happen.
No. That was dumb.
No,
oh
seriously,
my God.
it was just so unsafe. I mean, no.
I am surprised they didn't fall. There's Katie Palmer. Of course, I'm sure if they would have fallen through, it would have been the ghost yanking the demon, not the ghost, the demon yanking them down into the thing. Danielle Heil, thanks for joining us this evening. Appreciate that. Vegas Ghost Girls, good seeing you down there this evening. There's Tracy Christian. Thank you very much, Tracy. A lot of people in here like Tracy and Betty, and I know Fran Molino was in here earlier. I appreciate all the shares and retweets and stuff like that out there on Twitter. And I know a lot of you others like Tim Schoen and Tom McNicholas, and a lot of you others do. Candy Orton, Donna Gorton do a lot of that on Facebook and everything. So we appreciate all of those shares, really, really do. Lonzo Tingo is one of those that's been retweeting our stuff out there on Twitter as well, and having some conversations out there, which is cool. Critics Corvix Arts, that's Mickey Dole. Thank you very much, Mickey. What else do we have? There's Adam Tillery.
Lurking.
Yep, lurking as always, as we can only document. Good to see you there, Adam. HSFL Paranormal, thank you for sharing your story this evening. Do appreciate it. And so very, very interesting. So we definitely appreciate you sharing. It led to some good conversation, so definitely. Dustin Samario.
Little bro.
Yeah, good to see you out there. Where's Nick? Does Nick watch these?
I've seen him in there before. He's a busy man.
He is busy.
Nick is.
He's busy. All right, so let me go ahead and scroll back down. Good to see all the familiar faces in there and new faces as well. All right. So, all right, everybody, we will see you next week. And, of course, we have Friday Night Ghost Frights coming up here on, Friday. And don't forget, also, what you can get at Indigo Moon, which is right there in Meadow Springs Mall, part of It's Raining Sin and all that. You can stop in there and get some of your deadly grounds to your Haunted Road Roast. Haunted Road Roast, it helps you hunt ghosts. Makes you laugh every time.
So
That's
funny.
why I do it.
Haunted Road Roast, it helps you shovel snow, too.
It does. It did help me shovel some snow.
There's Tammy or Karen, or I can't remember which one of them said it helps, shovel snow, too. So I even said it in the voice. You couldn't hear it in the post, but I said it in my head that way.
Haunted Road Roast. It helps you shovel snow.
We had enough snow, that's for sure. Expecting another round of it to come in. Oof.
Yeah, this weekend, that's going to be really.
It's like, let the 11 inches that we just got disappear first, maybe.
Hey, it's Jimmy Cortez. Hey, Jimmy. Good to see you. And then we got some other people. Okay, we'll throw down some more shout outs. That's good. Miguel M says, good night, Shana and Mike. Pat Kraft was in the house. All right. I mean, there's a little bit of a delay, but yeah, good to get these ones in here at the end. So, all right, everybody, we love you. We will see you, Friday. I will do a, as long as I get it out in time, because it didn't happen this past Friday, but we'll do the premiere. So you guys know what happens with the premiere, where half an hour ahead of time before we do the upload, basically it'll go live 7 p.m. Eastern is when we've been doing the Friday Night Ghost Frights. So we do the premiere 30 minutes ahead of time. We have the chat here goes live at 6:30 Eastern. Posts at 7. We also have a live video feed on Facebook that we do for that. So
I miss it all the time because I got to work.
Yeah, you've made like one. She has to work. So, all right, everybody, have a great night. We will see you Friday and next week. Take care.